Hi everyone, welcome to this week's reading, and this is for the week of the 10th to the 16th of July 2017. So I'm actually filming this on the Sunday, which I usually film it on the Monday and sometimes the Tuesday if I'm running late, but I'm a bit early this week, trying to get a head start on everything. And it's just interesting because right now in Australia the full moon in Capricorn is really peaking right now, and it's pretty much exact now over here in Australia, and I can tell you I feel the energy really strongly. It's a very intense full moon because it makes that conjunction with Pluto, and I did talk about it last week. So, you know, obviously those Capricorn people that are born around the middle to the later middle of the month, say roughly just past that, would feel it the most. And if you know your chart, 18 degrees was the exact degree of the full moon in Capricorn, and this brings up a lot of intense emotion for Capricorns. Interestingly, you know, for me personally, it doesn't even contact anything in my chart, but I'm still feeling the energies. Being a sensitive, being an empath and a psychic, obviously I'm very in tune. I've always been, since I was a child, very sensitive to the moon phases, and especially the full moons. For some reason I've always been very attuned to that. And if you are a sensitive person, an empath or a psychic, you would also be very aware and in tune with the ups and downs of the influence of the moon. So even if it doesn't contact your chart, this full moon in Capricorn, if you are sensitive, you'd be definitely feeling this. So once we get through over the weekend, over Sunday, and we get into Monday with the astrology, things, are a little quieting down a little bit naturally after a full moon. And it's interesting because my cat, you might be able to hear her, she's been acting up, and I've noticed she always does on the full moon, start to act a little bit, sort of how cats can get that really revved up, intense, crazy cat vibe going on. And she's definitely very restless at the moment. But anyway, heading into the week, Monday, Tuesday, things are pretty okay, for Tuesday. Monday, Tuesday, pretty good actually, which is good news. So Tuesday you have moon in Aquarius, which is nice and detached and very friendly, light energy, very detached energy, emotionally detached, trine with Jupiter in Libra. So what you can expect with that energy around Tuesday is a nice feeling of maybe wanting to socialize and connect with people. The moon in Aquarius is very much about people and groups of people, but also, Venus is in Gemini now, and that's very restless socially, wants to mingle, wants to connect with people, wants to be on social media, see what's going on, wants to read and be updated with everything. We also have, last week, I don't know if I mentioned this actually, but Mercury actually moved into Leo. So it's a good time to self-reflect in a way about your own self, about your life, what you want, because Leo is very much about the self and the identity, one's ego in a healthy way, in a very expressive and creative way. So you might be thinking about what you can do that's creative, that's exciting, and then it could be mixed with social connections because of that Venus in Gemini that we have got going at the moment. And Tuesday is a good day to maybe have lunch with a work colleague, or have a nice get together with somebody if you have time, lunchtime or after work, that sort of thing, where you can fit it in, because it's a very nice social energy on Tuesday. Moving forward into Friday, the energy gets a little bit intense emotionally in a more sensitive, mystical, spiritual kind of healing way, because we have the moon in Pisces making a conjunction with Chiron, and that happens on Friday-ish. So if you're anyone that's born very late degree Pisces, Sagittarius, Virgo or Gemini, you'll be feeling that energy. So for the Pisces, it's going to be a bit more kind of a complete sense of or a holistic healing feeling. That rhymes. But for the others, it's going to be more tense, because the for the other mutable signs, that is, it's going to be a bit difficult, that moon conjunct with Chiron in Pisces. So Sagittarians, Geminis and Virgos may just have a bit of a harder time with that. There could be something a bit raw that comes up for you guys emotionally, and remember, it's the later born mutable signs that's going to affect. So if you're an early Pisces or Virgo or Sagittarius or Gemini, you probably don't need to worry about it unless you have something in your chart that's 28 degrees, like another part of your chart that's sensitive there. What else have we got going on? Saturday, the energy starts to peak a little bit again, with a little bit of tension, on the weekend again. So Although on Saturday we have a positive aspect with Mercury in Leo making a sextile to Jupiter in Libra. That's again nice for social contacts, or doing something nice for yourself, or having a bit of an indulgence, going for lunch with someone and just spending time on getting a massage, or having mental downtime and just doing something where you don't have to think too much. You can just be more passive and relax and enjoy an experience. Sunday, the energy gets a little bit tense with Mars in Cancer making a tense square with Uranus in Aries. And so what else? Also, you've got on Sunday coming in is the Venus in Gemini makes a square to Neptune in Pisces. So yeah, there's a bit of tension on Sunday, and a little bit of things not being quite right, or people not being quite clear, or your direction feeling a bit muddled. You're not sure what you want to do perhaps on that Sunday. There's a lack of clarity on the Sunday, so if you feel a bit confused or a bit muddled, just kind of take it easier on yourself on this coming Sunday. That Venus in Gemini square with Neptune, if you are someone that's single looking for love, just be aware that if you meet someone on that Sunday, they may not be quite who they seem. Just be a bit careful with that energy. And it does peak on Tuesday of the following week, where things might be a bit more it might become even more confusing before it makes sense to you later on. Just lastly, I want to mention, for those people born at the very middle of Sagittarius, so I'm looking at 16 degrees, be careful with your anger and temper this week, you guys, because Lilith is going to be exactly on 16 degrees of Sagittarius. So if you have a sun, moon or ascendant on 16 degrees of Sagittarius, watch your temper this week, you Sagittarians. And that was all I was going to say. So, because when Lilith is in your sign, she gets very all or nothing, and it can be very intense. So let's have a look at the cards for this week, for a general reading for everybody, and see what comes up. I'm using the Llewellyn Tarot for this week. Alright, so where do I want to go here? I'm sort of going towards the back for some reason. Back of the deck. Yep, still pulled towards the back. Not sure which one's that one. Yep, okay. Let's see what we've got. The Two of Swords, the Seven of Swords, oops, and the Ten of Wands. Okay, so it's interesting because I was saying about things not being what they seem with people. That's towards the end of the week, but it's come up for some reason also at the beginning of the week. Maybe something to do with coming off of that full moon energy, because if you look in this card right here, there is a full moon there. Okay, so saying that the beginning of the week, the influence of that full moon in Capricorn is still going to be on people's minds. So maybe for a lot of people there was a lot of tension on the weekend, or something culminated on the weekend, or something came to your awareness of something important. Capricorn is about ambition, it's about achievement, it's about what you want out of your life in a very sort of ambitious way. It is a earth sign, so it can be about material advancement and practical aspects of life as well. So there may be difficulties for some people in these areas of life to do with practical advancement, to do with where you're at in a very material sense. And so this card here, it's the Two of Swords. It's about a decision needing to be made, but you just cannot make that decision right now. You feel stuck, you feel trapped. And what I advise people when I see the Two of Swords is, look, it's basically saying you can't make a decision just now, so don't make a decision until you feel that you really can make the decision. But don't put it off indefinitely, because that's also a bit of a risk with this card, is that you can just keep going along thinking, I can't make a decision, so I'm just going to see what happens, and be in that passive state. It's more like, okay, well, you can't make a decision right now, that's okay, but know that something will have to shift and change, and it's probably going to be on you to do it, based on what I'm picking up on here. The Seven of Swords shows that, and these two are definitely connected. So for some people out there, there could be a situation of where a situation is not being confronted still head on, and there's a need to confront a situation. Seven of Swords shows someone going about something sneaky. They're sort of, under the cover of night, and they think that nobody knows exactly what they're doing, but there are people that are aware of what they're doing. I do feel in this case, usually this card, the man has a smirk on his face in a lot of the decks, not all of them, but in a lot of them, and definitely in the traditional tarot. But in this case, he looks quite depressed and forlorn. So it looks like this man in this situation just does not know what to do with this pattern that he's got going. It could be, for some people, an addiction of some kind, or some kind of habit that you want to break but you just don't know how to, some kind of situation that you want to change but you just don't know how to. So that's how I'm looking at these two. And with the Ten of Wands here, it's saying, you know, you can't just keep going basically in this difficult situation, whatever this difficult situation is in your life, whether it's even just a habit within you. You know, it may not be an external thing as such, but it may be that you are blocking yourself from advancing yourself on your life path through your own possibly addiction to a situation or to a habit, and you're not doing enough to make that change, or the time just hasn't been quite right to make the change. But it could be, you know, that change could be upon you soon, because it's saying here that the Ten of Wands, this is, you know, you're going through a difficult time. This is a burden. This is, you're feeling burdened by life. You're feeling that you have a lot on your plate, a lot on your shoulders to manage, and it's not an easy time. This is a card of a lot of hard work, and, you know, it's the Wands, so it can be practical things, but I also feel it can be quite spiritual, and it could be a karmic load that you're carrying, that you feel you have to get through a kind of testing time. It could be that, you know, if you know your chart, you might be going through very difficult transits that are long term. This is a Saturn in Sagittarius card, so interestingly, you know, if you are a Sagittarius and you're watching, you still have Saturn in your sign until the end of November this year. So, but once you guys get past November, you're into a whole new chapter of your life. So that's a very good news. So this could be in part addressing a lot of Sagittarians that are watching, but I do feel definitely for everybody else there are messages in all of these cards, people that are watching. I feel very strongly Capricorns and Sagittarians, these, you know, or if you have strong Capricorn or Sagittarius in your chart, these messages definitely apply very strongly. But also for everyone else, if you just happen to be watching, there is a message in this for you, because I believe in the power of synchronicity, which is why I do these readings in the first place. I've had so many people tell me, you know, at different times that the messages that that I speak about in these readings have, you know, resonated for them, which is why I do them, because if I didn't have that feedback, I really wouldn't bother. But, you know, the messages here definitely relate to just having come off the full moon. And another thing this could relate to, I'll just say, is Venus is in Gemini, and Gemini is of duality, of being in two minds, you know, and so the Two of Swords definitely relates to having Venus in Gemini. So this could be for a relationship for somebody, and, you know, not just Capricorns or Sagittarians, could be anybody having a struggle in a relationship and not knowing what direction to take next in the relationship, or how to have a confrontation if something needs to be said. It could be a bit difficult and you're just not sure how to approach it, but it shows you're carrying a burden here, and, you know, this will have to change at some point because you can't keep going on like that. So let's just get one last card from the Angel Reading Cards by Debbie Malone. These are really nice cards that I like using, and then I'll wrap up. So if you'd like a personal reading with me, I'll just say quickly, you can follow the links below to my online store. The turnaround time at the moment, I'm quite busy, so it's going to be at least 7 to 10, or 6 to 10 business days at the moment. And it's, when I get busy, I tend to do 6 to 10 or 6 to 12 business days, because I do not like to rush my readings. I'm quite thorough and detailed, and yeah, I basically don't like to rush through them to get to the next one. There's no point doing that. So you know, if you have to wait a little bit longer, you know, you will get a quality reading from me. And if you have a look at my reviews on my online store, I have really high accuracy with my readings. So anyway, let's see what we've got for this week. This one at the back. Ooh, interesting. Angel of Relationships. Well, it's funny because I did mention relationships in the reading with the Two of Swords and the Seven of Swords, where there may need to be a confrontation. Interesting, 29 in numerology, 9 plus 2 is an 11 master number. So there's something that may need some ironing out in a relationship, or some smoothing out in your relationship. Maybe there's been a lot of stress around your relationship recently, you know, I don't know why I want to say if you have children, it could be that there's a lot of pressure because you're trying to juggle so many different things and still make time for your relationship, and that is not always easy. But, you know, there could be job pressures involved and just general life stress involved. And it's really, you know, it feels like it's one of those situations where it may not be anyone's fault. It's just the nature of life at this time, and need to be patient with each other. But I feel like this card comes up as a sign of a positive shift as well. Like, I feel quite positive, and I feel like things are changing in a positive direction. So just be a bit patient with yourself and the other person at this time. Alright, so that concludes the reading for the week, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope everyone has a really great week. Thanks so much. Bye.